Okay, so welcome to the third part of three of this series. So thank you again for your commitment and your time all the way through. Again, my intention is just to make sure that this is as valuable a use of your time as it possibly can be. So let's recap a little bit and look at where we've been. So session one was looking at where does our inner peace and our well-being lie. So all those things we're looking for, joy, inner peace, contentment, fulfillment, where are they? And we looked, if you remember, at all the places that we are told that they are. So certain successes in the world, possessions, money, and all those things. And when we looked more closely, we realized that that's a transitory experience. It doesn't last, it passes over time. So it couldn't be in all of those places. Then we looked a bit closer and I asked you to close your eyes and bring to mind a memory of a time when you really felt that real connection, that real joy or inner peace or whatever it was for you, that peak experience. And if you remember, the commonality that we noticed was that in that moment, you were fully surrendered to that moment. There was no resistance, fully surrendered, and you'd gone beyond thought. So you weren't thinking about the moment, you weren't experiencing it through the veil of thought. You were fully there, fully present, in a fully mindful state. So the conclusion from that is, okay, so inner peace and well-being is within us. It's in us. It's not in the experiences. We connect with it when we surrender and when we go beyond thought. That was session one. Then we came on to the second session, which was the called the dilemma. So, okay, if it's all in me and if it's there always, why the hell isn't that my experience? Noticing some nods. Why does it feel, why is my experience very, 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 very different to that? What is going on there? And what I introduced you to, and again, I'm not claiming to be the expert in this space, but it's a journey that I'm on. What I introduced you to was this concept of a flow of energy that comes through us, Shakti, spirit, chi, energy, whatever you want to call it, flowing through us constantly, a channel. But that innocently we've bouldered the river. So we've bouldered the river. There are lots of things that are getting in the way of that energetic flow. And every so often there's a little breakthrough. There's a moment when we go beyond the boulders and we get in touch with it again. And then the boulders come back and it's as if it wasn't there at all. So that's kind of where we went last time. So looking at what are those boulders? Where did they come from? And we'll touch a little bit on those again in a while. So this session is loftily called the Enlightened Path. So no pressure on me at all there. In an ideal world, you would have an enlightened master sitting with you, leading this session. You'd already be enlightened just by being in my presence, and I wouldn't even need to say anything. You'd just experience inner peace and enlightenment. Unfortunately, you have me. So speak to Jane for refunds at the end. But where I am is I see myself as on this journey, on this path. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years, and it feels like some of these latest insights for me, I say latest insights as if they're brand new. These are timeless. There's a paradox. They're new. It's almost like cutting edge, what we're going into today. And it's also exactly what everyone's pointed to for thousands of years. So it's not cutting edge at all. It's just we lost our connection with it. So what we're going to go through is actually, what is that path? How do we remove the boulders? And how do we live in the world in a way that allows that energetic flow to just do what it wants to do? A river wants to flow, the channel wants to flow. So how do we do that? How do we allow it to do it? Because we don't need to do anything. We need to get out of the way. That's all we need to do, get out of the way. So that's where we're going to go. So I can't remember, I might have framed it in this way, but the way I kind of think of it is what we've been playing up until now is what I call the unwinnable game. The unwinnable game. No one's given us the rules of the game, or the rules they've given us aren't the rules of the game. So we've been trying over and over, been rolling the dice and rolling the dice and rolling the dice, and you can't win it. If joy, inner peace, contentment, and fulfillment are not out there, but we've been told that they're out there, then it doesn't matter. We could give you 1,000 years on this planet to keep playing that game. You'll never win it. It's not the game. It's not the game. So what we're going to do now is start to look at, well, what is the winnable game? What's the game that we can win, the one that we can play? So the unwinnable game, and we'll go deeper into this as we go through the session, but the unwinnable game, as it seems to me, is I'm not okay in here. I'm not okay in here. It's not feeling great. So I need to get busy out there. I need to change some stuff in my world. I need that person to be like this. I need my boss to be like that. I need my partner to not do that. I need success after success after success. I need all this stuff. But it's, when we look closely, that's not in our control. That's nowhere near in our control. We tried it. We cannot control everything out there. And even when we do, even when we get the thing that we think we want and we need, as we said earlier, it's fleeting. It passes. So let's put that unwinnable game to the side, and let's look at what is this winnable game? What's the one that we can play? So crucial starting place is to know your role, know our role within this, within the winnable game. So your role, and this is what we're circling back to the insight from Masterclass 1, your role is to clear the channel, to remove the boulders, and to not add any new boulders. That's actually it, as far as I can see it at the moment. Just remove what's getting in the way that we've innocently put there, and not put any new junk. No more trolleys in the river, no more junk in there. And again, circling back to that first session, not get lost in thought. The solution doesn't lie up here. We've tried that. We've tried changing everything out there, and we've tried changing everything in here and controlling this. Unwinnable. It just doesn't take us where we want to go. And just tune into your experience and whether that feels true for you. If you kept trying those two places for the rest of your life, does your evidence tell you that's where the solution lies? Or does your wisdom tell you something else? So if our role is to clear the channel and to remove the boulders, let's revisit again what we covered last time. What are those boulders? So they're made of three things, and we covered two of them last time. I'm going to introduce you to a third one tonight. So the first thing is they are anything in our past that we have resisted. I don't want it. Life brought me this. I had an image, everything was going great. I was flowing with the river, everything was good. And then life brought me this. Insert whatever you want for this. COVID would be straight in there for all of us, I'm sure. And I didn't want that boss. I didn't want that role change. I didn't want this. I didn't want that person to leave me, or whatever else. So life brings us these things, everything's flowing, and then suddenly something comes and we don't want it and we resist it. And we close around it. We're pushing it away. We're getting busy with it rather than letting it flow through and letting us experience it. So the energy gets stuck. The past almost gets stuck within us. And there's a boulder. Not only is that now causing us problems now, but even if that lays dormant for a year or 2 years, something else is going to come along that reminds us of it and triggers it. And it's as if it's straight back in the moment, and we spiral and all of this, and our mind goes crazy. We've all experienced what that's like. So that's the first boulder, is anything we've resisted. Second boulder, or second type of boulder, there'll be loads of these within these boulders, within these categories, there'll be loads of them. Second boulder is anything that we've clung to, anything we've attached to that we like. I like that. I love this relationship. This relationship has to stay the same. This has to stay the same. Oh, it's changing. Oh, they want to be different. They're going. I don't want them to go. We're trying to hold on to the past. And we've all experienced this. See, all of this, by the way, there's no judgment in any of this, by the way. It's, as far as I can tell, this is the human experience. We go through this and we burn ourselves, we suffer, and then we learn. So all of these, I'm not coming from any place of judgment. I have done this many times, all of these, I still do them, still go unconscious. But we cling to things. So again, let's imagine there was a relationship that was perfect. That's the thing. I've got the girl or I've got the guy and they solve everything. All the problems go away. It just needs to stay like this. And then it changes and then the relationship breaks up. But we didn't want it to break up and we're holding on to the past. Good luck now. Let's imagine that relationship is 2 or 3 years into the past. You think you're kind of a bit over it, but you keep on thinking of them. Your thoughts go there regularly. And then you're on a call with a friend and they tell you, oh my God, I just got engaged. Boom. Ouch. You want to be happy for them. You really want to be happy for them. And you're trying your best to be happy for them. But you know what? That really hurts because it hit a boulder from something that you're clinging to. Some old energy is triggered. So those are the two that we introduced last time. The third and final, as I think third and final, there may be more, but as I see it, the third and final type of boulder are our beliefs. So our beliefs are another type of boulder. A belief is just a thought that you buy into or have bought into at some point. Maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously. That's a boulder. And it will get hit if it's not true and helpful, if it doesn't serve you. So for example, I don't know, I'll go to America now. So I'm in America. I believe that all Republicans are dangerous. I believe all Republicans are dangerous. By the way, all Republicans think that I, as a Democrat, am dangerous as well. So that's good. How do they coexist? I don't know. But I'm certain I'm right. They're certain they're right. I meet my wife's, or less I've got a girlfriend. I meet my girlfriend's family for the first time. And we're sat round. It's Thanksgiving dinner. And they start talking about how brilliant the Republicans are and how Trump has been hard done by. I'm triggered. There's a boulder. And I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. I'm thought spiraling. I'm kind of wanting to argue. I'm kind of not. It's, do I even want to be with this girlfriend now? All this stuff. Because I've got a boulder. I've got beliefs that are being triggered by the world. All that happened was an event. They're talking about things they would normally talk about. But I've got some stuff. Their stuff hit, or their conversation hit my stuff. If I start getting busy talking to them about how Trump is an idiot, then do you know what? I'm hitting their boulders. And we might start throwing boulders over the dining room table. Okay. So extreme examples, but just tune in. Does this feel true and does it resonate? So the path here is to clear the channel, to release the boulders. Now, some of you may have heard of Ram Dass, and some of you may not, but Ram Dass is a very well known and revered spiritual teacher from America. And the way he encapsulates this, which I love this phrase. And by the way, he uses the word God, substitute the word God for anything you want, because you can use anything that feels true for you. But the way he talked about it was, again, life is a series of events. It's always unfolding. It's always evolving. It's always happening. Life's coming, no problem. Then a boulder gets hit and we're triggered, we're spiraling or whatever. And his phrase, which I think is beautiful, is use this to go to God. Use this to go to God. Now, as I say, substitute God for anything you want. Use this to go to inner peace. Use this to go to your inner well-being, your innate well-being. Use this to surrender the boulder. So now it's no longer my enemy coming. I didn't, the thing I didn't want. It's no longer I need to fight or resist that. It's triggered me. Interesting. There's a boulder that needs releasing. So I'm going to use this to surrender it, to release, to clear the channel. And you'll know your work is done when the next time a similar event happens in your life and you no longer get triggered. You've used it to go to God. You've used it to clear your channel. Life is always teaching us whether we've still got stuff or whether we've let the stuff go. So let's get a bit more practical around it. What does this mean? If we want to surrender, if we want to use these experiences to go beyond, then what does that mean? What are the practicalities here? So as I see it at this moment on my journey, it feels like there are 5 things for us to transcend. Now, transcend is another lofty word. We'll put that alongside enlightened. So by transcend, I literally just mean go beyond, go past. That's it. So feel free, when I use the word transcend, just think, okay, go past, just go beyond it. So 5 things for us to transcend to release the boulders, as I see it. So the first is your mind. First thing to transcend, to go beyond, is your mind. You are not your mind. It's probably the most important thing that we'll discuss in this session. You are not your mind. You can think of your mind as separate from you, a little bit like right now you're connecting via a laptop or a tablet. Think of your mind. I'm not going to, blow your mind by saying you're not your tablet or you're not your laptop. You probably knew that. Think of your mind in the same way. Position it a couple of feet in front of you. That's my tool. It's the most powerful tool we know of in the universe at this moment in time. It is phenomenal, phenomenally more powerful than the laptop or the tablet. And it's not who you are. It's your ultimate tool that you get to use. And we only get to use it when we transcend it. If we haven't transcended it, it runs our life. And it will feel like it's your worst enemy. And it will feel like the thing that's driven you insane. And I just want a lobotomy. I want someone else's brain in there. We could give you someone else. We could give you Einstein's brain. If you get lost in it, it will drive you insane again. Einstein was a genius because he transcended his brain, transcended his mind. If you look at any of his quotes, always talking about going beyond. A problem cannot be solved at the level of thinking at which it was created, which means you have to go beyond your mind that created the problem, transcend it, and then ask a different quality question. Now your mind is going to serve you. So your mind, and this will be a leap of faith, but your mind is perfect and it is neutral. It's perfect and it is neutral. And you will not experience it that way until you've gone beyond it. It will feel like it's your worst enemy, but it's perfect, it's neutral. It's waiting for you to use it in the way that it's designed to be used. And it's all about the quality of programming that we put in. And part of that, as we touched on, this is where it circles back to the boulders piece. A key part of the programming going into your perfect and neutral mind are the beliefs that in your past you've innocently bought into. Now, if those beliefs are true and helpful, then that is high quality programming, and your perfect and neutral mind will give you some great quality emotions and life will flow. If you have untrue and unhelpful beliefs in there, and welcome to being human if you do, because I think everyone does, then your perfect and neutral mind will take that as programming. It will trust you as its programmer, it's neutral, and you'll get some low quality emotions, and it will drive low quality behavior in the world, and life will feel tough. So for example, if you happen to have, and again, this is where there's no judgment, this is all innocent. If you happen to have had a really challenging childhood, maybe some parents who had their own problems and weren't quite in the space that you'd ideally want to be in to be able to nurture for a child. If you grew up in that environment and you believed, you came out, maybe it was, you know, just a toxic or abusive home environment, and you came out understandably believing, I'm not good enough, and that was internalized in you, then your mind trusts you. It trusts that programming. I'm not good enough. That's a massive boulder. And you'll be amazed how many people are carrying around boulders like that. It's a huge boulder. That boulder is going to get triggered every day in many situations. I'm not good enough. It's going to get triggered everywhere because you go everywhere. So if you're not good enough, then good luck. Unless, even if you're by yourself, you won't like your own company because you'll feel that you're not good enough. If you start a new job, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to think, they're going to find me out. They're going to find me out. I'm not good enough. I need to wear a mask. Then you realize I'm wearing a mask. They're going to see behind the mask, and on and on and on. You start a new relationship. They're going to find out I'm not good enough. They're going to find out I'm not good enough. That boulder is so big, it will get triggered everywhere you go until you do the inner work to bring it to the surface. Ask, is it true and is it helpful? And if it is not, replace it with a true and helpful belief. I had a challenging childhood. It's got nothing to do with not being good enough. I was born perfect as a baby. I had some real challenges. Understandably, I started to believe I'm not good enough. But you know what? That's not true. Everyone's good enough in their core. There are things I can improve on in my life, my skills, my abilities, or whatever, but that's not to do with my worth. My worth is not up for grabs. There's the boulder out of the way. Now the new job is a new job. Now the new relationship is a chance to meet someone, get to know them, share who you are. Now we don't need the mask on. So inner work always comes before outer work. Inner work always comes before outer work. Now, Michael Singer, who I think I referenced a couple of times in the last couple of sessions, who I see as an amazing teacher in this space, an amazing insight he shared, I may have shared this already, but it's worth revisiting even if I have, is he realized, he studied, his mind was driving him crazy, as all of our minds drive us crazy when we're not transcended of it. And he realized, he had a sudden moment of insight where he realized, that's why the mind is going crazy. That's why it's driving me crazy. It's because we've given it innocently and unconsciously an unwinnable task. And that task is, I am not okay in here. So things out there have to be a certain way for me to feel okay in here, because that's how it seems. So mind, get busy changing out there so I can be okay in here. So if you've ever wondered, why does my mind judge all of the time? Why am I always saying good or bad, right or wrong? That's why. It's not because your mind is mean or evil or even judgmental. It's because innocently we've programmed it to judge every situation. Is this how I need it to be, or does it need to be different? Is that person the right person for me? Is that manager managing in the right way that you should be? And on and on and on. It's always going over, it's always ticking over, which is why it never shuts up. But not because there's anything wrong with it, it's because we've given it an endless task, a timeless task. There's no debt. It's not like do this for a week. It's no, do this forever. So it will tick over forever. So transcending your mind and mastering your mind is absolutely the first stage. And it's one of the reasons why we end these sessions with a guided meditation. The work, or one of the paths that can be really valuable in this space is meditation. And it doesn't need to be an hour. It doesn't need to be, going somewhere, in your mind to like connection with the infinite and all that kind of stuff. It can be as simple as 5 minutes or 10 minutes, once or twice a day, just tuning out of the mind, bringing your awareness to your heart or to your breath or to a mantra, something that separates you from your mind. That's the purpose of meditation. You are no longer lost in mind. You're separate from it. And part of that might be noticing how crazily busy it is, but that's okay. By definition, I have noticed how busy my mind is. There's a separation between me and my mind. That's why meditation is pointed to by all traditions. It's a foundation to be able to transcend your mind. So that is the first area. Excuse me. So the second thing to transcend is your heart. Your heart, which might sound a bit more strange. I'll be like, oh, hang on, why do I need to go beyond my heart? So the reason for the transcending of your heart is when you look really closely, and again, this absolutely ties back to the work of Michael Singer. So this is where I was introduced to this, is in any given moment, your heart is doing one of two things. It is either opening to the experience of life as it unfolds, or it is closing. Just notice that as you go through the next, day, couple of days, week. Your heart in any given moment is either opening or closing to your experience. Now, when you stay open, it means that the flow of the river comes through and it passes. So do you know what? It's really easy to stay open when we have the peak emotions and things are going the way we think they should. So brilliant, the job's going well, my partner's being kind to me, whatever, everything's going better, the vaccines are happening, whatever. I'm open. Brilliant. That's great. And it's quite easy work. And it's easy when there are no boulders being triggered. But then something comes along that is different to how we wanted it to be, or hits one of our boulders. And just notice what happens is your heart energetically wants to close. It doesn't like it. It wants to resist it. And this is how we start to build up more boulders. That's how the boulders got there in the first place, or many of them, not the beliefs, but the other ones. The resisting and the clinging. So if we're closing, do you know what? There's another boulder, or there's a pebble at the very least, a little one, but they build up as well. Or it's a boulder, and they're building up and building up. And again, that's going to be preventing the flow that wants to happen. So the part of the deepest work here is to stay open to everything that comes your way. Everything that comes your way. The stuff you wanted, the stuff you didn't want. The joyous emotions and the really challenging emotions. So do you know what? If I experience the death of a loved one, which is going to be really challenging, I allow myself to experience that, and we touched on this last time. I allow myself to feel the sadness and the grief rather than closing around it. And when we do that, it flows through us rather than getting stuck in us. So we can still grieve, we can still experience what needs to be experienced, but it's no longer getting trapped energetically within us. We're still going in with the flow of life. There's a poem that I thought I'd read in relation to this part around the heart, which some of you may have come across before. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. So some of you may have heard before, some of you may not. If you have heard it before, you'll probably get something different from it again, because I get something different every time. If you haven't heard it, it's beautiful. And I'm sharing this because it feels like it really ties in with this piece of all is welcome. The good emotions and the ones that I think I don't want to experience, all is welcome. So this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Now that is some deep work. And it's uncommon. You know, that's not our normal experience. No, I'll open the door to all the nice emotions and the great experiences, but I'm closing the door to the ones I don't want. And like that feels so natural. And it's how I've led the majority of my life. It's how most of us lead our lives. And notice what happens. Just notice the result. We've closed innocently to these things, but they get trapped in us. We're no longer free. There's a burden, there's a block of the energy or to the energy that could be flowing through us. And again, you'll know when your work is done in this space, when something that triggered you in the past that meant you closed happens again and you stay open. And you go, my inner work is done. Inner work always comes before outer work. Okay, third place. Third thing to transcend. We're going big. The world. So we've transcended your mind, we've transcended your heart. Now we're going to transcend the whole world. So why this? And what do I mean by this? So you can think of the world as a mirror. And I'm going to use these two words again. Perfect and neutral. Perfect and neutral. It will reflect back to us who we are and how we're showing up, individually and collectively. It can't help but do exactly that. It's a mirror. So the actions that we as a species have put in over the past few hundred or thousand years, the state of the world we see today is a perfect reflection of that. It's imperfect. I want it completely differently. I want all the forests back. I don't want crazy leaders in charge with massive egos. I don't want nuclear weapons and the Putins and the Trumps and the whatevers. I don't want any of that. It's imperfect. But you know what? It's the perfect reflection for how we've shown up. It would make no sense if the world was reflecting back to us harmony and peace everywhere, because that's not what we've been putting in. So that's collectively, but individually, when we look at our life, it's always a perfect mirror. If we're looking at our work and we love it and it brings us joy and contentment and fulfillment, amazing. We've done our work in that space. We followed our passions. We followed our interests. We've removed the boulders, the limiting beliefs, and it flows. That part of our life, the channel flows. If we look at our relationships and suddenly we go, actually, do you know what? It's not the same there. I haven't got real closeness. I haven't got real connection. I seem to be very judging of others, and it feels like people are very judging of me. There's the perfect mirror again. The mirror wasn't kind in the first instance, and now it's being mean. It was perfect and neutral, and it's perfect and neutral. There's some work to be done. What are the boulders? What from my past have I resisted or clung to that's getting in the way of intimacy and connection? What beliefs am I holding that are preventing me from getting that intimacy that I want in my life? So our solutions are not out there. Out there is a perfect reflection for the solutions that are needed in here, the things it's time for us to let go of. And Eckhart Tolle, I love the work of Eckhart Tolle. Power of Now is one of his most, an amazing book. He talks about being in the world, but not of it. Be in the world, but not of it. What I take by that is the same, or take from that is the same as the mind. Use the mind, amazing. It's your most amazing tool, but don't get lost in it. Don't get lost in it. There's no solutions in there. It's transcendence that's key. So be in the world, experience it, love it, play, experience, create, do all these things, but don't fall into the trap of thinking that what we're looking for is out there. It's in here. And life is letting us know when we're on that track, when it's flowing, we've done our work and we're doing our work. When it's blocking us, or when we feel blocked, okay, there's some work to do. So third is transcending the world. Fourth, it's going to be another big one. Transcend time. Didn't expect this from an hour session, did you? Sorry. Okay, transcend time. See, this is, I'll give you some homework after this. You can, by next week, I want all of these done. So transcend time, what do I mean by that? Be here now. Again, the words of Ram Dass. Be here now. All problems exist in time. You can handle anything that arises here in this present moment. Anything. And by evidence of that, you are all here. So you've handled every moment you've had in your life. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying it's been a bed of roses every day, every step of the way. You have handled absolutely everything that's come your way. You can handle everything here and now. Because in the moment, the resources you need come. They don't come ahead of time. You don't get courage 2 weeks before the time when you need courage. Courage comes in the moment when it's needed, not before. Connection comes in the moment. It cannot come in advance, and it can't come when you've gone beyond a situation, gone past a situation. It all comes in the present moment. So time and thought are synonymous here. So time is a human creation. I know it doesn't seem like that, but when we look closely, without thought, there is no time. The past is a thought of a former now, and the future is the thought of an imagined future now. You can't go to a past now, and you can't go to a future now. The life is always unfolding here in the simplicity of this present moment. So transcending time means, and again, when we're circling back to that piece from our first session together, you brought to mind that place where you were, there was peace or joy or contentment or fulfillment. The commonality was you were there in that moment. You were fully present in that moment. That's where everything you're looking for lies. Or this is where everything you're looking for lies. Right here and right now. It's not 5 years from now. And it's not in the past. You haven't missed it. It's here, and it's always been here. It always will be here. It's behind the boulders. The work of removing the boulders is done here and now. And the fruits of your labor are here and now as well. Once you've removed a boulder, you remove the boulder in the now, and then you experience more flow of joy and peace and contentment now. It's always here and now. It's the only place your work is ever needed. And when you've transcended time, when you've gone beyond it, you can now use time. So I'm using time in this session. I glanced down, it's 14 minutes past 8. I mean, that's a human construct, you know, it doesn't really exist, but it's helpful. It's a tool. Time is a tool that we can use. It let you know to join at a certain time, and we know we're going to finish at a certain time. It's really valuable, but it doesn't really exist. It's a construct, something that's valuable. So when you've transcended time, you can use it. You can plan a future now in the present moment. You can think, right, I'm going to spend 30 minutes planning how I want the next year to go with my business. Brilliant. You're using time, but you're planning now. The result of your labor will be now, and every step on the way there will be the present moment as well. So you use time, but you realize that it's all fun unfolding in the present moment. It's an illusion that what you're looking for lies ahead. Okay, we're on to our fifth one now. Ready for another big one? The final one. Ego. Ego. Seeing some shakes of the head. How can I get past my ego? Okay, so why ego? And what is ego? So our ego is everything that we've identified with. Innocently. Everything we've identified with. The roles we've played and do play. The possessions we own. The money we have. The successes we've had. The failures we've had. The beliefs we hold. And on and on. Anything you identify with. Anything you could say, I am this. I'm a dad. I'm a coach. I'm a good person. I'm a bad person. I'm this, I'm that. Anything that starts with I am ... is a construct of who you are. It's almost like from our thoughts, we've created an illusion, like almost a second version of us to help us make sense of ourselves in relation to the world. So it makes sense that we've done it. But we have this image of who we are, and we bring it with us everywhere we go. And it's the cause of all suffering. It's the cause of all suffering. Because we are relating to the world through this illusory sense. It's like we want it to be permanent. We want to say, this is who I am, but everything changes. Everything's evolving. Anything I say I am today could change tomorrow. You know, I'm a coach, but I wasn't a coach 5 years ago. So what does that mean? Was I not me back then? Oh no, okay, so that can change, that evolves. I was on the journey towards it. I was close, but I wasn't there. I'm a dad. Well, I never used to be a dad. And what being a dad means is going to be very different 10 years from now to what it means now, or 30 years from now. It's going to be profoundly different. So what does that mean? I'm a homeowner. Well, let's see what happens with COVID. Maybe the riots are going to come, we're all going to lose our houses, whatever. We just don't know. But if I lose my house, if I'm identified to my house, then if something went wrong, maybe out of my control, maybe COVID goes so bad that nobody can afford to pay for coaches anymore, there's no income coming in and I can't afford the repayments, I lose my house. If I am identified with my house, that's a mini death to me. I've lost something that I'm attached to, and there's the suffering. So part of the journey here is to realize that we're not the stories that we tell about ourselves. There's nothing wrong, again, using time as a tool, and using these labels and these roles is really valuable. It's useful for me to know I'm a dad, because it means I know that after this, I should probably go back in and check that my kids are asleep and whatever. That's handy. But there's a difference between using these things and being aware of them and being identified with them. That is who I am. If you want to see the extreme of this, just look at what happened with Trump. So identified with being the president that he would have killed someone if he could to stay in that position. And he was sending people to kill on his behalf because he was so identified with it. And he's still fighting it, and he still will, because it's full identification. But we see it with Trump. What we often don't see is, actually, do you know what? There's a bit of that in me. I'm not comparing us all to Trump, but do you know what? There's ego. I get attached to things. I want permanence. I want it to stay the way it is. And I don't like it when someone else is trying to change things. I don't like it when the world is trying to change me when I'm not ready for it to happen. So surrendering, going beyond ego. And it's spoken about as being to die before you die. That's the highest path. To die before you die, which I take as meaning I'm none of that. I'm the awareness of my role as a father. I'm the awareness of my choice to work as a coach. I'm the awareness that at the moment I have a house. I'm the awareness, I'm the awareness, I'm the awareness, but I'm not identified with any. So do you know what? If some of them go, that's fine. Let it go with the river. That's fine. Life changes, life evolves. It's all going to flow. It's all going to change. And on my deathbed, it's all going to get taken away. So we're all on this journey. We're all going to get everything we've identified with will get stripped from us. But to die before you die means it's already gone. It doesn't matter. It's not that I'm resisting any of these roles, but I'm not attached to them. Let's just let it flow. Let life bring what it wants to bring. Okay. So we're going pretty deep, aren't we? So those are the 5 things to transcend. So what then does that mean for what are we here to do? Within the context of these 5 things, what does it seem like we're here to do in this lifetime on this planet, spinning through space? So 3 things as I'm seeing it at the moment. First is clear your channel. Moment by moment, moment by moment. Clear your channel. Notice when you get triggered and use that to let go of the old boulders. Moment by moment. It's a lifetime of work, but each time you're clearing the channel. And each time more love, more peace, more joy, more contentment will flow through because you're taking away. So first is to clear the channel. Second is to experience and to evolve. Seems to me we are here to experience. Seems to me we're here to experience and to evolve, to change, to experience, for the experiences to shift us. And again, ego is permanent. We're trying to have a false sense of permanence. It doesn't allow evolution. When we let that go, so these experiences are changing me. I used to think this and now I think that. I used to do that, but now I do this. There's freedom, there's expansion, there's growth. And you can think here in this space is that there's this separation that I've touched on a number of times. So there's things that we can observe, and then there's us as the observer, the witness. So you can think of this as you can sit back into the seat of your conscious awareness. And from that place, you can choose, imagine yourself, so imagine that you were in your mind, you were in your heart as well. You know, when that gets triggered, you're lost in it as well. And you were in the world. So everything that happened felt like it was all everything. You're being pulled all over, mind, heart, world, all over. That was our experience. Now imagine that you realize there's a seat behind you, comfy armchair, and you get to sit back into it, a few feet away from these things. Now, from that seat of conscious awareness, you have choice. And let's imagine that you're sat there and you have a torch. And the torch is your consciousness. So you are consciousness, but you get to channel your consciousness where you want it to go. So in one moment, you might think, do you know what? I want to think. I want to plan what my next year looks like. So you shine the torch into your mind. And you start to, from a place of conscious awareness, you start to ask some high quality questions. What life do I want to lead a year from now? What does that mean for my relationship? What does it mean for where I'm living? What does it mean for my work? So you're shining the light here and you're using your mind, and your perfect and neutral mind will serve you because you are asking a high quality question of it. And you get that clarity. Then let's imagine that you shine your torch out into the world. Do you know what? I want to experience some stuff. So through my senses, I'm going for a walk and I'm experiencing in the moment what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, all these things. That's where my consciousness is going. And then maybe I meet someone on the walk, someone that I know, and we start talking. And now I'm shining my torch onto them, but I'm also shining it into my heart. And I'm noticing the energetic connection between us. I'm noticing it opening and what it feels like to feel really connected with someone else. So that's what I'm feeling. So this second piece around experiencing and evolving, that's what I'm talking about. Just shining the torch where you want it to go. There's no right and there's no wrong. There's nothing you have to be creating or doing, but you get to choose. And then the third that it feels to me and seems to me that we're here to do is to contribute, to add value, add our unique value into the world. So there's a beautiful phrase that I came across, and again, I think it was Eckhart Tolle I came across it from, but I don't think it is his. Life is the dancer. You are the dance. Life is the dancer. You are the dance. Now, that I used to think that doesn't make sense. Surely I'm the dancer and life is the dance. Surely it's that way around. But the more I've sat with it, I'm like, no, it's life is the dancer. So think of how much in your life you're in control of and how much of it is completely out of your control. Life unfolds constantly. It's always evolving around us. We are in control of a tiny thing, which is just our conscious choice in this present moment, how we respond to the infinite change that's happening. So life is the dancer. And one of the deepest questions you can ask in this contribution space is, what does life want from me here? What does life want from me here? Now that is honoring life is the dancer and I am the dance. Maybe it wants something from me. If it doesn't, that's fine. I'll just let life flow and experience my inner peace, my joy, my contentment that flows always. And if an answer comes or an insight comes of, do you know what? It feels like life wants me to do this, then we have the choice to do that. Now, as part of that, again, we've been gifted this incredible, everything we've been gifted, the vessel, the body we get to move around this world in, the mind, the heart that allows us to feel and experience. You think of all of it, it's such a gift. Now, with those gifts, we have an option as well to think, well, actually, I can imagine a world and my life as I really want it, and I can co-create that. I can do some things in that direction. So this is where, the journey that I outline in On Purpose in my book points to this piece of, well, okay, so what are my values? What matters to me most? And how can I build a life around those? Because that will feel true for me. That's my kind of life that I want to lead. What are my strengths, the things that I'm naturally good at? And my passions, the things that I love to do? And where do they intersect? So if we're starting to build our life, envision a life that would be in alignment with your values, who you are, and your strengths and passions and your element, then that's going to be an amazing life to co-create and play with, but with no attachment to the outcome. You're playing with form. You're creating something, you're trying something. Life might bring you something very different, and that's great. Maybe it's way better than what you'd envisioned, but there's something here about playing and exploring and experiencing and contributing. So those feel like the three: clear your channel, experience and evolve, and contribute, whatever that means for you. Could be on a very local level, could be bigger. And the result of all of this is freedom. Freedom from suffering, freedom from those boulders, which means freedom from our past, and the channel flows. We just experience what was already ours, which is peace, love, joy, fulfillment, contentment. So as a final piece, I've covered a lot in an hour. This is a lifetime of work. Make no mistake about that. This is a lifetime of work, but it's a high path, and it's an amazing path to go on. Moment by moment, day by day, clear your channel and experience more of what we are at the very deepest level. Which everything's, when you get there, you kind of, and I'm starting to get glimpses of it. It's this piece of, do you know what, we're all one. We all come from the same, we all return from the same. So you get more and more glimpses of how connected we really are, everything and everyone. I think it was, I don't know whether it was Susan Jeffers who said this or whether she was quoting someone, but she said, the only way out is through. And I love that. The only way out is through. So allow yourself to experience the tough stuff. A lot of this will be tough work because those boulders hurt. They really hurt. It hurts in your heart when they get triggered. So to stay open when your heart is hurting is deep work. But there's something there that's very cathartic. It's almost like alchemy. You're allowing the pain to turn into joy. You're allowing what was trapped, that never needed to be trapped, but innocently trapped, to be released. We feel it as it comes through. So if it was trapped as pain, it will come through as pain. If it was trapped as fear, it will come through as fear. So there's something there about, you know what, it's a lifetime of work and it will feel tough, but you get to a point where you start to recognize, actually, on the other side of this is freedom. The only way out is through. And you actually can get to a place where you start to welcome that feeling in your heart when you realize, actually, I'm letting go of something that it was never serving me, that got trapped there. And this is going from the unwinnable game to the winnable game. So I'm conscious we are, I've gone a minute over. I've used time, but I've gone a minute over. So I'm wondering, we have finished the last couple of sessions with meditations, but I feel like we've gone through so much with this session. It feels like maybe opening up to questions might be the way to go. And my invitation is, there are so many meditations out there. You can revisit the ones that we've shared from last time, if that would be helpful. Or just type into YouTube or whatever, the kind of meditation you want, and there'll be guided ones. But it feels like questions would probably be good. So just put your hand up if you have a question, and we'll come to you. I'll come to you. Or take yourself off mute, or type me. Go for it. So your name comes up as admin. I can never remember what your...
Seskin.
I'm Seskin.
Okay.
Thank you very much for a great series, Steve. Really enjoyed it. I think the quote about the dance from the dance comes from the poet Yeats.
Does it? Thank you. Okay.
Eckhart Tolle took it from Yeats, so go back to Yeats for that.
Thank you.
Okay. I just thought it was fascinating. Seems to be like every day is a new board, a fresh new game in a sense, isn't it? You know, and when you think you've achieved one level, you tend to, like snakes and ladders, you tend to go down and, you know, start again somewhere else. So it's constant, really. It's never ending. This kind of, you know, reinvention of self and deletion of ego.
Yes, love that. Yeah, there's real insight in what you just said. I agree with that completely. So when we come from a place of ego, we build ego naturally and innocently, because we go, oh, well, I'm doing this, so that's part of me, and I'm doing that, so it's part of me. We kind of build this illusory version of ourselves.
Yes.
It makes us feel secure, but it actually, when we look closely, it's all of the insecurity comes from it, because we know that anything that's there can be taken away, or someone else can do better than it. So it feels very vulnerable when we're there. So when we come from ego, a new day, is almost like a blackboard that's got loads of stuff on it. It's already got all the stories that we tell about ourselves, the good stuff and all the bad stuff. It's all busy.
Yeah.
So a new day actually isn't a new day, because we're bringing all that baggage with us, and people experience us in that way. So they react to us in the same way they always have done. And we all experience this. If you go back to your family for Christmas, it's like you're a 10-year-old again. You know, you just, all those old dynamics start to play out, because they've stuck an image of you in their mind. It's got stuck over time, and they relate to you through that. And we feel it really intensely when we meet people we haven't seen for a long time. You almost feel trapped by their view of you. And it's one of the reasons why often we feel a sense of liberation when we leave a job and we go to a new one. People aren't relating to us through their lens, but we're often relating to ourselves through that lens. Now, when we go beyond ego, each new day, and each moment, actually, it's not even each new day, every moment you die to yourself. You die to the past in every moment. So it's like every moment is a new blank slate. And you know what? I'm no longer limited by what I've done in the past, no matter how good or not so good it was, or yeah, what it felt like. I'm no longer limited by what's come before. There's infinite potential there that may come through in the moment. So yeah, what you pointed there is bang on and really insightful. Thank you. Okay, yes, Deborah.
Can I say something? Yeah, I think a lot about this issue with egos. It's sort of come to the fore in my thinking more and more over the years, with myself and with the world, and it often seems to be the cornerstone of problems in a way. And but something I think about a lot, and partly from my own experiences, my own early childhood experiences and experiences in my therapy, is how, and this sort of journey is just, you know, it's complicated and deep for everybody, but for people, for whatever sort of reason, have had very difficult beginnings where perhaps they didn't originate with a good sense of self, a good what I would call a sort of healthy ego upbringing, you know, in the way that you must be trying to enable your children to feel good about themselves. That's sort of a natural healthy ego, isn't it? And there is, so, you know, I had experiences of sort of complications in my family relationships, you know, where I was an only child, my parents hated each other, I was stuck in the middle, and on some levels I came out of it with a very poor sense of self, which caused me lots of problems. And in therapy that I went through years and years and years ago, it was almost about building my ego in a way, getting just a sense of my right to be in the world. And I keep thinking, I don't know exactly what I'm asking really, but I keep thinking how much more of a complex journey it is for people that have had to build it before letting it go, if you know what I mean. It's very easy to talk about letting these things go if you've had a relatively stable ego building, for want of a better word, upbringing. Do you know what I'm getting at?
I know, yeah. I think, again, really beautifully articulated. So thank you. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So there's a piece here of, there's almost stages. So if you have a really negative ego, a negative concept of yourself as a person, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, or whatever else it may be, then doing the work, the big boulders there, doing the work to rebuild those and create what you'd say is a healthy ego, it absolutely makes sense. That's potentially, for most of us, that would be the first, that's the next stage of the journey, if we can get there. A lot of people won't even be given the tools or the insight to go there, but that's the next stage. And then what happens typically is we start to notice that even when we do that work, it doesn't lead to what we are really looking for: inner peace, genuine inner peace.
Ultimately, yeah.
So then there's that piece of, oh, so if not this, then what? And that can lead to depression, or it can lead to suffering, even though we've got a better self-ego, self-concept. So then that final stage is, do you know what? There is no good ego. It's not that ego is evil. It's not that we need to like fight it. It's illusory. It doesn't really exist. So if we're looking for us a permanent state of peace and contentment in something that is transient and illusory, again, it's an unwinnable game. And that's where the final stage is just letting it go and going, do you know what? I wasn't a bad person when I was young. And it's not that I'm even a good person now. I'm the awareness that was aware of those challenging experiences. And I'm the awareness of where I then got to on my journey. And now, do you know what? I'm choosing to just be awareness. And you know, that's deep. That's really deep work. A lot of yogis would say that would take a few lifetimes, but I'm not going to go there. I don't know what my beliefs are in that space. But great question. Thank you. Okay. Who else has a question?
Steve?
Yes, Richard.
The boulders you talk about, how far back do they go, or can they go?
Oh, good question. I would imagine all the way.
Yeah.
I would imagine all the way. You know, I don't know why, but the thought just came into my mind. If a baby was unfortunate enough to be born to a mother that is addicted to heroin during pregnancy, and the baby comes out addicted, there's boulders around addiction and need right from the get-go. So the boulders, as far as I can tell, go all the way back. And again, it's why I keep on using the word innocent, and there's no judgment here. Like we've never known we're building up boulders. No one's ever told us about this concept. So we've built them up innocently. You know, Rumi's poem, do I want to open the door to grief and sadness and anger and frustration? No, I want to shut the door. I don't want any of that stuff. That makes perfect logical sense. And yet it seems that gets stuck in us. Seems to get in the way of what we're actually looking for. So yeah, does that feel true for you, that the boulders?
It does, yeah. But it also points to a lot of work.
Yes and no, but mostly yes. so let me speak to both of those. So work is a loaded word.
Yeah.
Straight away for me, that's hard work. I'm picturing like shoving the boulders up the hill and all this stuff. Do you know what? The hard work is life unfolds and I resist it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
That's hard work.
Yeah.
Life unfolds and I'm clinging to it. I don't want it to change. That's hard work, because you're not going to change it. What we resist persists.
Yeah.
And what I cling to stays, because that's where my energy is going. It's hard work going through life, holding on to old beliefs that are untrue and unhelpful and being triggered regularly. Yeah. And it's really hard work trying to change everything out there to try and feel okay on the inside. That is hard work. Is it easy to stay open when our habit is to close? It's not easy, but you know what? It's actually not hard.
Yeah.
A great example that Michael Singer gives, again, I'm quoting him because he deserves to be quoted, because a lot of this is coming from what I've learned through his work. But a great example he gives is, if you want to give up smoking, there's only one thing you need to do. Don't put a cigarette in your mouth. That is it. If you don't put a cigarette in your mouth, you have given up smoking.
Yeah.
So relating this to this, is it easy to stay open? Well, it's not our habit, so it's not, it's not easy in that sense. But it's just a choice. Just make a commitment. I choose to never close.
Yeah.
I choose to always stay open to the good stuff and the bad stuff. Now that's quite a simple choice. Will it feel uncomfortable when you're experiencing emotions that have been trapped for a long time? Yes. But when you're coming from a place of transcendence, when you're aware of why you're feeling them, and actually I'm releasing, there's alchemy happening within me here, then actually, do you know what? That's almost part of the highest state. It's conscious suffering with freedom and liberation on the other side. It's, you know, it's climbing a mountain, feeling the burn in your legs, but going, do you know what? I'm almost there. So actually, I'm quite enjoying the challenge of this. Now that's a lot easier than I don't know why I'm suffering, but I'm gonna keep trying. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks, Stu.
Okay, lovely. So I think we are at time. Jane, I know you were going to just share for anyone that joined us a little bit late about another session that could tie in really nicely with this as well. But just before I pass over, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to each of you for your time, your commitment, your openness, because we've gone pretty deep with all of this. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you. If you're interested in the piece that I touched on at the end about leading, consciously co-creating a life that you really want to lead, then the book that I wrote is On Purpose. Kind of shameless plug, but it just genuinely is. If that's of interest, then there's a book called On Purpose, which talks you through that stage. How do I find my strengths, my passions, my values, my element, and how do I live in alignment with that? So feel free, if it appeals, then go for it. If one of the things I'm trying to do at the moment is bring this work to as many companies, like the mindfulness piece, not this deep stuff. I think this is too deep for companies. But if you happen to work with a company that you think, actually, do you know what, some mindfulness tools, some insights, whatever, would be really valuable, some practical, how do we live and work mindfully? Then just feel free to drop me an email. Yes, so feel free to get in touch or ask Jane for the contact details. I'm really open to that because it's something that I really want to do more of. And Jane, I'll pass over to you as my noisy dogs from next door come past, so I'll mute myself now.